right, people, welcome to the last session. Let's go to the pavilion. Woohoo!
There you go.
That was a little bit of fun. I hope you enjoyed the Mexican hat dance with us. Come on in. Woohoo! Welcome back to session 4 of our virtual Monarch Festival. This is the last session. We've had so much fun doing this today. I hope you guys have enjoyed it too. My notes, here they are. Welcome back. Today what we're going to do in this last session is we're going to talk about the migration and go through the whole annual life cycle of the monarch butterfly. The last one we just talked about one life cycle, one generation, but we're going to talk about a whole year this time. So I hope some of you took us seriously and came back to view us with maybe some nachos and salsa, and maybe a Mexican hat, sombrero. If you did, share your pictures with us. Make sure to write in the chat where you're joining us from. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions during the session, please chime in. We've got Carolyn Cutler-Hughes on the chat, and she'll be answering any questions you have about her 2 books, Flutterfly and A Butterfly Is Not an Ant, which are posted on our website if you haven't seen them already. We want to thank you for the donations that are coming in. We really appreciate that. It'll help us to do our work here and help us to fund other organizations doing like-minded work. If you haven't made a donation and would like to, you can go right to our Monarch Festival page and there's a link there. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump right in and talk about the migration of the monarch butterflies. So we're going to start right where we're at, which is September. We're going to look at the calendar year. So Jesse, if you want to come down here, and we're going to keep referring back to this calendar, but we're in September. So as we've mentioned, this is when the butterflies from the north, that includes parts of Canada, all across North America, and this also, I should say, is east of the Rockies, because any monarchs west of the Rockies will go to the coast of California for the winter. So Jesse, if you could just show down here on the map, we're up here in New Hampshire, and between now and about December, the butterflies are going to head south, and they're going to go this way and go down to the Oyamel forest in central Mexico. I mentioned earlier that the butterflies that fly out of the upper Midwest have a shorter trip because they just make a straight shot. So what's going to happen is they're going to start heading south. They end up bunching up into groups of butterflies, especially the further south they get, because it gets like a funnel. So the people in Texas will say, you know, the butterflies are coming through, because they see them in huge masses as they head down. So they're going to head down, get down there in the winter. They're going to spend the winter up in the trees, and then next spring they're going to start to fly around as it gets warmer. And then, if we can refer back here to the laptop screen, in March what'll happen is they will head up to Texas, and that is when they will breed and the butterflies will lay eggs. At this point, those females, they're 7 months old, and they're old and probably have really ratty-tatty wings, and they're tired. But anyway, after they breed, they pass away. So then, over the course of the next 30 to 45 days, they will go through one life cycle. The egg hatches into a caterpillar, caterpillar turns into a chrysalis, chrysalis hatches into a butterfly. Those butterflies head north. And that shows you right here, here's the first generation. This is going to continue all through the summer. So as they're heading north, there will be another generation between May and June, another one between June and July, and then the last generation between July and August. So that 30 to 40 day life cycle happens 4 different times throughout the course of the summer. What we see are the great grandchildren of the butterflies that flew down last year. So I think a lot of times I hear people ask questions about the monarchs and say, how do they know how to go back and forth? It's not the same butterflies going back and forth, to be sure. It's a different generation, a different butterfly. I think we have Eye in the Sky, Channel 9 is looking in on our
National Guard.
That was dark?
National Guard.
Oh, National Guard.
Yeah.
Okay. Darn, I thought Channel 9 was doing like a flyover and getting us on 9 o'clock news, or 6 o'clock news. Anyway, so that gives you the idea of the actual migration. The last session, we had hoped to tag a monarch. Oh, do we have a question? We have a question.
Yes, we have a question from Sophie Haddock in Rhode
Again?
Island. Do scientists know how the butterflies know what generation they are and whether they're supposed to migrate or not? Is it still a big mystery or just magical knowledge?
Okay, so the question was, how does the generation know? Yeah, a lot of it has to do with day length and temperatures. So the ones that are being born in the middle of the summer, it's hot, it's sunny, they're going for the food. So they keep heading north because they're looking for the milkweed. And the milkweed is germinating, growing, starting in the south, working its way north. So they know to follow it. So when the ones up here are hatching, their body is detecting shorter day length, cooler temperatures, and they go into a phase that's called diapause, which means they don't want to breed. So these butterflies that are hatching now have no desire to breed. They just want to fuel up and they want to fly south. Then they'll come out of diapause when they're down in Mexico, Texas area. That's when they'll breed, and that'll be the end of their life cycle. I hope that answered her question.
I think so.
Yeah, any others?
Not right now.
No? Okay. So what we want to do now is we're going to tag this butterfly. It hatched earlier today. A friend brought it by, but it had only been out of its chrysalis for a short time, and I like to wait at least 3 or 4 hours for the wings to properly dry before we tag them. I moved it out of her tent into ours because this is easier to tag from. Hers opens at the top and you risk the butterfly flying away when you tag. And this one's a lot easier to film through, so we're hoping we're going to be able to Jesse's going to be able to catch this. So in case you missed the last segment, I have this chart here. I have these little tiny stickers. Make sure I get the right one. The number for this butterfly is ABRL850. I need to know whether it's a male or female, and I've already seen it open its wings. I saw the 2 little dots on its bottom wings, and so I know it's a male. And what I have done, I don't know, Jesse, if you can get in on that, but I have put that sticker on the very end of a toothpick, just barely on the end. And what I'm going to do, this butterfly is hanging up there, and I'm going to reach in, and I'm just going to lay the sticker on the side of its wing, and I'm going to press and release, and it's going to happen really fast. Are you ready, Jesse? And hopefully, and I just squeezed, just gave it a little bit of pressure, and that sticker is on there. A lot of people ask if having the weight of the sticker on there affects its flight, and it really doesn't. Years ago, when the researchers first started doing this, they had tags that they had to fold over the tops of the wings, and they lost so many butterflies that way. So they've come up with this method, and it works. They find a lot of butterflies this way. What we're going to do is wait till the very end of this segment, and I'm going to carry the tent out there, and we're going to release the butterfly and say goodbye. That'll be the end. So now what I want to do is I kind of want to talk about the big picture, because I've mentioned a couple times in other segments that there's a lot of things that we can do to help the butterflies, but we have to think more than just the monarch. If you make steps to help the monarch, you're helping other insects too. The one key thing is for the monarch, obviously, is it needs the milkweed, but there's other things that we can do to help all insects, because you know what? All insects are in trouble. A recent issue of National Geographic had insects on the cover, and they had a big story about it, about how the populations of all insects are diminishing. And we think they're insects, they're pests, why would we need them? They're actually at the bottom of the food web, and they're very important in the whole cycle, in the whole scheme of things. And if we keep losing our insects at the rate that we're losing them, we're going to be in trouble as far as food production goes. We need our pollinators to pollinate our plants. 1 in 3 bites of food that we eat, we depend on a pollinator to have pollinated that plant so we can get that food. And I seem to detect there's a question. There's not. Oh, you just made that face. Okay. No questions. If you have any questions, chime in. All right. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about a few other issues, things that we can do to help all insects and all pollinators. And what we really need to do, you know, there's a lot of problems in the world right now, and there's a lot of things that we can't do anything about, but this is something that we can do something about in our own yards. We can rethink our lawns. Our country has, I don't know, over the years, as we've developed, as we've become more urbanized, there has been more of a movement to have the perfect lawn. And we really don't need that perfect lawn because it's feeding nobody. And insects, I mean. And if we keep a lawn that has perhaps clover in it, even let our dandelions go, violets, that type of thing, that is a better plant matter for the insects. When we strive to have that perfect lawn, we are adding water, and right now we're in a drought, which means that there's not a lot of water available. We're adding lots of chemicals to make sure that we have that perfect lawn. So we really want to try to think about that. Also, if we could just stop maybe mowing a portion of our lawn and letting nature grow back. If you were in our milkweed segment, the second session, I explained to you that that whole area was an area I mowed every single week. And that was a place where the kids played. And now I just mow paths right through it, and I only have to mow them every 2 or 3 weeks, not very often. And we have so many more insects there, so many more pollinators. And it's good to have native plants because native plants have been around here for a long time, and they've co-evolved with insects that depend on them. So if we were to lose any certain plants, we're going to lose the insects that go with them as well. By having more pollinators around, we're going to help our gardens. It helps local farmers because even local farms are having a hard time depending on the honeybee and the commercial hives. They're under a lot of stress too. I've heard people make comments in recent years. I hear it a lot in the spring. Where are the birds? We don't see the birds. How come there aren't any birds around? There's not as many as there used to be. The reason why is because we're taking away their food. Where is our moth here? Let me show you this. This is very interesting. This morning, I'll bring this over here for you, Jesse. This morning, we showed you the caterpillar of a I can't even say it, Polyphemus moth. And let me open this up and see if, can you get a little shot of it right there or not? Can you see it?
It's a little grainy.
All right, let's see if we can get a view from here. Last night, Jim went outside. He found this moth caterpillar walking across the driveway, and it's tucked in this leaf over here, okay? And so I looked it up, and it eats maple leaves, oak leaves, birch, cherry. So I grabbed some maple and oak leaves, and I put them in the bottom of the tent. So this morning, we showed you this caterpillar in the first segment, and the thing is huge. It's as big as my thumb. So since we've been filming today, this caterpillar went and got one of the leaves, pulled it up, and it's wrapping itself in the leaf. So I'm going to do a little bit more research on this guy, but I'm pretty sure he's getting ready to make his little cocoon for the winter, and then he'll hatch out next year. And so this brings me to my next point. Every fall and every spring, we feel compelled to rake up all our leaves. And sometimes they get bagged and thrown at the dump. Sometimes they get brought to a place to get made into compost, only so we can buy it back the following year when we need to add compost to our garden, which to me is really silly because we could just leave the leaves and let them compost on our own property. And this is where so much activity is happening over the winter. The caterpillars that have been up in the trees, they need the leaf litter to continue their life cycle, to continue to pupate. And what do? We rake everything clean, get rid of it all, and we're taking away their diet. So the following year, there is not as much for them, not as many of them to hatch out. And the birds in the spring, while we feed them birdseed over the winter, which they can eat, their babies cannot eat birdseed. They need caterpillars, and they need thousands of caterpillars in order to feed their babies. So we have noticed a huge change here because a couple things that we've done in the spring, when you come out and the perennial beds, the garden beds have leaves in them, I get it. I want to go out and I want to rake them up and make them look neater. But you know what? By the middle of June, the plants are all grown up. You can't see the leaves anymore. And these insects have had a chance to pupate in that leaf litter. So it makes a really good mulch. Instead of going out and buying bark mulch, you can just leave the leaves there. This time of year, I would say, yeah, go ahead and rake off your lawn, because if you don't rake off your lawn, you're going to have all kinds of lawn diseases anyway. You can rake that stuff up, but do you have to bag it up and throw it away? Why not put it to the side of your yard, to the edge of your property, if you have a space, and whatever's in there is going to have its chance. And whatever's left behind, the leaves are going to decompose, turn into compost. You'll have some new soil. So that is my little thing about leeks. Let me see, did I miss a page? Hang on. 2 pages are stuck together. All right. Oh, another thing we want to talk about is applying chemicals, and we want to be super careful with that because so many chemicals, you really have to read the instructions. There's so much being sold over the counter at, feed stores, big box stores, and so on and so forth. And the thing that I have to laugh about in one of the instructions that it says is, do not apply this if there is any, what's the phrase that they use? If there are any, any stages of life cycles of insects in the area. And to me, it's like, unless you go look under every single leaf and every single twig, there's got to be eggs, caterpillars, chrysalis everywhere. It's amazing where all this stuff is. And we come in and decide we want to spray and take care of this. But it's definitely going to, hurt something else along the way. Right now we're dealing with tent caterpillars. There's a ton of trees around that have tent caterpillars. And are they unsightly? Yes. Do we have them and do I hate them? To look at them? Yes. But I look at them as bird food. And this article just came out in the Concord Monitor, if you want to check that out. And it's a great little article about the tent caterpillars. And what the message really is that we should just leave them be. The best thing we can do is poke a hole in the web and allow the birds to get in to get to the caterpillars, because they will eat them right up. And that's what they need for their diet. We have tons of birds around here. I come out here in the morning and the afternoons, and the birds are chirping like crazy. And it's just been really nice to be able to know that some of the things that we've done here have really helped that population. One of the books that I want to talk about, and I've read about a third of this so far, it's Nature's Best Hope by Doug Tallamy. It just came out within the last year. And if you Google his name and this topic, there's all kinds of videos of him giving presentations about this. But his whole concept, and I love it, is if everybody who has a yard took half their yard and started doing different practices like not mowing it and letting some native plants grow in, we would have 20 million acres, which he dubs the Homegrown National Park. And it would be bigger than all of the major national parks put together. So it's a really great book. I'm learning so much from reading it. I think it's a great idea. We have, taken old prairies and fields and woods, and we've, carved out our little niches and tried to make our beautiful little spaces, but they can be just as beautiful with native plants, with leaves mulching our garden beds, and so on. So I just want you to check that out if you can. The one thing I don't have on the website is the links to all my favorite books, but Jesse, if you want to slowly pan around some of these books, these are a few of them, and I will create a list and put a link on there. This one's from UNH Cooperative Extension, which is a great local book, and Native Plants of New England Gardens came from the Native Plant Trust. We have a couple good gardening books about butterflies, and this is a great, great book about the monarch butterfly. I also like the things from the Xerces Society, and here's a couple, one on gardening for butterflies, and here's one on attracting native pollinators. So that's my whole spiel about taking care of our own yards. That's where we can make an impact, and I think we have a question.
Yes, Carolyn French Witham.
Hi, Carolyn.
what first got you interested in monarchs?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. She asked what first got me interested in monarchs. It has to do with the guy behind the camera, Jesse. When he was in second grade at Canterbury Elementary School, we received a letter from Mrs. Purslow, his teacher, in August, and she said, go out and look for milkweed plants and see if you can find monarch butterfly caterpillars. And I was like, what? Because I've been gardening my whole life and I never even really knew much about the monarch. I'd seen the butterfly, but I never knew much about the milkweed or the caterpillars. So we went and looked for some. I'm not even sure if we even found any, but there were certainly some in the classroom. And I remember going in and visiting the class and seeing them. And as a gardener, I wanted to know more, so I just started doing more research about them. And from that, it has led to more than just the monarchs, but I've gotten into all pollinators, you know, taking care of our own yards, as I just mentioned. So that's a great question. And Jesse's 23 now, so how many years has it been since you were in second grade? It's been probably 16 years or so. Yep. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Another one, yeah, from Robin Ann.
Hi, Robin.
Our
Robin was just here picking flowers.
Yeah, and she says our chrysalis is now a butterfly.
Yay!
Both exposed. They are enjoying your flowers we got today at Petals in the Pines. Pick your own.
That's right. She came. She made a comment or asked a question at the 10:30 video. She came here to pick flowers and told me that she had some butterflies. So thank you, Robin Ann, for sharing that with us. Anything else at the moment?
I think that's it.
Okay. So a resource that I want to mention, and it kind of ties in with how I just answered Carolyn's question, is the UNH Cooperative Extension is a treasure trove of information. You can go to their website, you can get all kinds of information about growing anything, and they even have a phone number that you can call in with questions. But they offer two classes, the Master Gardener class and the Natural Resource Stewards class. In 2010, I took the Master Gardener class, and the following year, I did Natural Resource Stewards. And both of them, they're about 12 weeks long. They're 1 day a week. You have in class, you have hands-on activities, you have field trips, and you also do some, work on your own at home in between. You're not graded, you're not tested or anything like that, but that really got me rolling into more about the pollinators, was taking those two classes. And both those classes are being offered right now in the fall. The fall classes have already started, but I have links on my website. If you're considering either class, I highly recommend them. The Master Gardener class, they're moving it around the state, so it's offered in different locations each time. And the Stewards class is being offered at Canterbury Shaker Village, right up the road. So it's a great place to learn. A couple things I want to tell you about here. One is our tail trail for kids. We've been doing this for, I think, 3 years now. And we have a tail trail right now. What we do is we take a book that has to do something with nature. We take the pages apart, the book apart, laminate the pages, put them on signs, and you can read them. We place the signs on the trail so you read the story as you go. The story we have right now is called Summer's Flight, Pollen's Delight, and it's a great book about the pollinators. And when you start down at our farm stand, when you get here, it takes you through the woods, but then it brings you right up through the meadow. And as you come through the meadow, it's great to stop and look around and see what pollinators you can find. This one runs through the end of September. We're open every day from 9 to 6, and it's $5 a kid, but infants and adults are free. And we have a little activity table out here in the pavilion when you're done, and you can play out here, you can bring a picnic and hang out and have a good old time. We will have a new tail trail set up for the month of October on a different trail. If you go to the site under Activities for Kids, you're going to find our friends, the Condis and Hazingas, doing a short little snippet of a video reading a few of the pages on the current tail trail, so I invite you to check that out. A couple of products that we have down at the farm stand. I wanted to highlight Hill's Corner Farm. They are from here in Canterbury, and they make a spicy maple mustard that is so, so delicious. The cameraman and I kind of go after that. We both love it. They've got a lip balm. They do handmade soaps in all different flavors, and we have a hand sanitizer spray. So those can all be found at our farm stand. And also, I make silk scarves. I don't make the silk scarf. I take silk scarves and I emboss them with images, usually, butterflies or insects or flowers or ferns, and then I dye them. We can't keep these in our farm stand for sale because the mice like to eat them. I'll be putting them on the shop on my website, or you can ask to see them by appointment if you'd like. Again, the links on the website to learn more about the migration, Monarch Watch, and Journey North, which I mentioned last time, that you can post when you see butterflies, caterpillars, eggs, is a great site. And also there's a Facebook page. There's a Pollinator Pathways New Hampshire Facebook page. They're located on the seacoast, but their mission is to get more towns committed to having more plantings for pollinators. I highly encourage you to check that out. I will add the list of my favorite books onto the website. And again, if you want to look up Doug Tallamy's Nature's Best Hope, really, if you watch one of the, you'll get the gist of the story, and it's really wonderful. He's an entomologist from either Delaware or New Jersey. I can't remember which. Again, if you have questions, this is our last segment. Please email me, and I've been trying to answer your comments in between segments, so I'll go on and answer any questions or comments that you have. And again, if you support what we're doing here and want to make a donation, we have that link on our website, and we thank you for the donations that have come in. And if we ever get back to normal next year and we can gather in groups again, I have a PowerPoint presentation I do on the monarch butterfly. So if you have a group like a garden club, a library, conservation commission, looking for a speaker, give me a call or email me. I'd be happy to come out. Be sure to share our videos with your friends if you know anyone who would like to hear about what we did today. Be sure to share that. You can like us on Facebook or Instagram. If you want to get our emails to find out what we're doing when, you can sign up off our website anywhere. I want to thank all the people that have been involved today helping out. Our 3 book authors, Carolyn Cutler-Hughes, Joanne Randall, and Sharon Rask-Huntington. I want to thank the Condi family and the Hazingas for doing the bracelets and for doing the tail trails. Sandy McIntyre, who's a master gardener, she compiled a lot of those website links for me that are on the website, so thank you to her. Marie from Hazel Moon Botanicals and Allison from Tanglewood Hollow. Their businesses are wonderful, and I encourage you to support them. I want to thank my husband Jim, who's been behind the scenes here and helping a lot, and the cameraman Jesse for helping. John Polizzi, put the camera on John Polizzi. He's right over there. Wave John. He's our neighborhood photographer, and I showed you his cards early on. And we thank you for coming, John. And thank you all for watching. And I also want to just give a shout out to all my teachers, the people who have taught me from Master Gardeners and Natural Resource Stewards, Mary Thibault Davis, Lauren Chase Rowell, Marcy Stanton, Ruth Smith, and all the fellow Master Gardeners and Natural Resource Stewards. Some of you I haven't even met yet, but I know when we meet, we're like family, and we learn a lot from each other, and I really love that about both organizations. So I am ready for a siesta. I'm ready to go relax. But before we do that, we're going to release this butterfly. So I'm going to carry the tent out to the lawn, and we'll let this butterfly go. So let me come around here. What I want to do first is I have to take the bouquet out so this doesn't tip. I hope he stays put. Oh, had a brick in here to keep this from blowing over while we've been here. All right, so let's take this little guy out to the field. And most likely what this is going to do, I'm going to actually go up here in the sunshine, Jesse, because they like to be warm when they fly. And this butterfly's been sitting in the shade for a while, so it actually may not fly right away. It might take a minute. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my finger up there. It has little barbs on the end of its feet, so it really clings to the net. And go like this. We have people here? And it's going to take a little time before it warms up. I may just get it right here on the tree. There you go.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah. And what happens this time of day, you know, as the sun starts to go down and gets cool, the butterflies that are here, they go to hemlock trees and pine trees and they roost there overnight. And they come back up the next day when it's sunnier. So the way it's pumping its wings right now, they're like those wings, like little solar panels, and it's taking in the energy from the sun and helping it to warm up. It may sit there for a few minutes before it flies. But I think this is a great way to end our virtual festival. I thank everybody again for joining. It's been a wonderful day with all of you, even though you couldn't be here. And again, thank you everybody for participating. Adios amigos and muchas gracias. Bye-bye.